right now, Hikaru gets the white pieces and plays a central pawn move on the first turn.
Yeah, Hikaru says, no more games. I'm getting serious. And we ball Nihal. That win came at precisely the right moment. Insane. He misses knight d3. That would have picked up a minor piece right off the bat. He keeps his composure, navigates. Talk about the trapeze artist. I mean, he could have lost a minor piece there with just seconds left on the clock and somehow outplays Hikaru from a dead drawn endgame. But the key question, Robert, can he capitalize on this momentum? This game might be even more important than the last.
Yeah, he cannot afford to lose this one because then you give Hikaru that renewed sense of confidence. And Hikaru, you saw him at the end of the game. He couldn't believe it. He's like, what just happened? How could I possibly lose that position in a classical game? That would never happen. And here with the black pieces, all seems okay for Nihal. He could take on e4. He can get his king safely castled at some point in the near future. But there are some tactics to work out. You always have to look at the h7 pawn, things of that nature. But Nihal thinking and doing the right thing.
And Hikaru might also be saying, hey, I'm the one who's supposed to do that. I'm the one who wins these dead equal endgames on the regular. So for someone to do it against him is particularly impressive. As Gleefully Orange says aptly in the chat, Nihal proving that he can out-magic Hikaru, and he will need a lot more where that came from if he wants to stay competitive in this match. Now, what do we make of this position? It's an IQP structure. Black's play is very natural here, but White has a bit of an initiative, slightly more active minor pieces.
And for Nihal, he can play knight f6, but you're walking into a pin, and there's some sort of knight e5 in the future. He plays queen c7, sidestepping everything, and then he can play h6 himself. We can bring a rook a to e8, but the c6 pawn, that's the tender point in the position, Danya. And Black can try to play c5 at some moment, but as you point out, d5 is available. There's also some problems potentially on the d file itself. And so, well, for now, Nihal refraining from pushing that pawn.
And there is even bishop takes c6 and then d5, kind of a weird-looking tactic. And if we pull up an analysis board here, after bishop c6, d5, the weird problem for Black is that if he puts a piece in between the rook and the queen, that piece is then going to stand between the rook and the queen, and it's going to be picked up by another pawn. So I'm actually struggling to figure out a defensive move in this position for Black.
I think knight c5.
D takes c6, and then what, a5 to prevent b4?
Yes.
Wow, that's a tough move to find.
Very, very deep. I mean, not easy at all, especially because it looks like the pawn c6 will stay there. But as you're pointing out, h2 a bit loose for the time being. That is...
Yeah, this. Wow. Tempo for tempo.
By the way, look what's happening on the board right now.
Could it be bishop takes c6 and d5?
It is indeed that sequence. And I feel like Nihal kind of overlooked it. You see him grabbing his head. He's calculating. But... this is not something that you want to have because now there's like only one way out. You have to find knight c5 followed by a5. I think he's capable of doing that. Are there any other moves? Is there like a knight e5 here potentially? Just trying to trade the knight on f3 and take on h2. That might not work out the way you want it.
There is the crazy knight d7 to b8, but the intention is simple. Just dc knight takes c6. But what's scary about that move is that in the resulting position, your knight on c6 looks so tender, and it can be attacked in a variety of ways. Queen a4, queen d5, knight c4. I feel like that is a lot scarier than knight c5. So the hard part about knight c5 is the move a5.
I think if we bring up an analysis board really quickly, there's a funny line with knight to b8. So knight b8 takes. Knight d4, there's like rook e4 stuff about to happen. Like bishop h2 check and rook e4.
Oh!
And so the point is that you take on c6 with your rook, I take on h4, and we just make a draw.
Unbelievable. And you don't even have to recapture the rook. You can just play an in-your-face move like bishop g3 check and go back. And you can go wherever you want on the diagonal. It all leads to Rome.
Yes, it does. And so that would be a draw. And he plays knight to b8.
Whoa. Back to the live board. Knight b8 on the board. And Hikaru doesn't have to rush with d takes c6. That's an important thing to point out. I feel like a Hikaru move here would be like h3.
That would be such a Hikaru move. But you have to watch out because you might fall victim to a g5 rook d8 if you're not careful.
Great minds complete each other's sandwiches.
That would actually be really, really nasty. I mean, that's something that's so easy to overlook because it seems like the pin is kind of eternal until the queen moves. But if that rook can slide in d8, you're creating a counter sort of pin discovery attack against the queen on d1.
I agree. Eating the same sandwich would be nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I would share with you. We could cut it in half. We get like a grilled cheese, slice it, and then share it. How's that sound?
Yeah, I don't like grilled cheese, but generally sounds good.
You don't like grilled cheese?
I'm not a cheese person. You knew that. I just like Parmesan.
Everybody likes grilled cheese.
Not Naroditsky. I mean,
do you like pizza?
I do like pizza.
Oh,
I like
there's
cheese on pizza, so I like it in principle. I just don't like it on a sandwich.
Your opinion is this?
That was smooth. I'll give you that. Touche.
Thank you.
Drink your
Appreciate
tea.
that. Thank you. I did enjoy that. But right now, Hikaru Nakamura trying to enjoy this pin. He seems to be struggling, trying to find a next move. He can't move the knight in F3. The H2 pawn is loose. Rook E4 is always an idea for black. And what a find by Nihal. Knight to B8.
Come on.
You know what he's really good at? That is a struggle for all chess players from beginner to super grandmaster is retreating moves. He finds these backward moves like no other. And knight B8, undeveloping just to protect the bishop, is a really classy move by Nihal Sarin.
Yeah, and thank you, BJH. At least someone's on my team. But Hikaru, he's trying to squeeze the juice out of the position. He's saying, listen, I don't have to take the bishop immediately, but I can't really intensify the pressure on the bishop either. So he bites the bullet. He takes on c6. Queen a4 hits the knight, and it can be defended with rook a to c8. You could also play bishop c5, but that would have fallen victim to b4.
Exactly. So he's avoiding that b4 tactic. Knight d4 still does not work. h2 is hanging. Rook e4 is even more devastating with that queen on a4 over there. So Hikaru might not have anything.
The worst might be behind Nihal. And not only that, it's just there isn't even a clear way to create threats if you're Hikaru. He does create a threat, but it's a pretty prosaic threat, and the queen is going to move out of the way.
What about rook e4 as well?
Oh, that is a fearless move right there. And we might start talking about a revolution here with black being the one up on top.
Yeah, because that actually threatens both the b4 pawn and bishop takes h2 check, distracting the knight from f3.
But my worry would be after rook e4, let's say I play a3, you win that pawn, and then I guess you could just stay on the fourth rank to prevent b5. It's a little bit flimsy, though.
I'm with you. That actually does not look like an ideal configuration of pieces. So queen b7, that might just be the easiest move. Let's get out of dodge. Let's just make sure that we maintain equality, because what is white really playing for in this position?
Yeah, that's a good point. I like queen b7. I think given the match situation, if Nihal can even draw this game, that'll be a major confidence boost. Just sort of cement the fact that you're back in the match. Don't give Hikaru the immediate comeback win. If we were talking about the bullet segment and Nihal was down 3 points, he would have played rook e4 in the blink of an eye. But he's definitely not playing in the blink of an eye. He's taking a while here, deciding between what I'm sure are these two candidate moves.
That's right. So Nihal right now trying to figure this out. I mean, I just looked at their ratings for the first time. Hikaru 3193, Nihal 3166. These two behemoths of bullet and blitz chess. I mean, I'm just so stoked for the rest of this match. But I think Nihal right now, he is struggling to find the accurate continuation. He's like, do I play rook e4 and get adventurous? Do I play the calm queen b7? I know I'm doing fine there, but he's spending too much time, and that's my main concern for him. Hikaru's been good in many of the time scrambles, not counting the previous game.
And Hikaru, probably the best player in the world in the opponent's time pressure. Nihal, we know, is capable of magic with literally no time left on his clock, but you just don't want to get into these situations against Hikaru in principle, because you might save one game, but if you keep doing it, Hikaru is going to keep creating chances and keep harassing you, and rook e4 and bishop h2 is on the board. This is what we were talking about, and I guess Nihal has decided that Hikaru has no way to push through the b-pawn.
Wait, there's also knight d4 at some point. They're knight e2 mate when the rook was on h4.
Oh my god!
Can we bring up an analysis board for that?
We should absolutely bring up an analysis board. So are you saying rook h5 here?
Maybe knight d4 right away? Is that no?
Oh my lands!
Yeah, because knight h4, knight e2.
What a catch by you! And rook takes c7, knight e2 is Anastasia's mate. But the main thing that's impressive about this line is that here you have a fork. You pick up the rook, and white has no compensation for the pawn. And lastly, Robert, knight takes d4. There's another combination. Queen takes c1.
Queen h2 was mate in one. Just
yeah. No, you didn't have to bust my bubble there, Robert. Hey, queen takes c1 is the best move. I don't care.
Well, it looks like that didn't happen. Rook c3 played
Nihal
in huge time trouble. What is he doing? He's got to find a move.
Make a move, Nihal, because this is so complicated. Rook fc1 is on deck.
He might want some kind of rook g2 tactics. There's a pin on that pawn, so at some point there could be something there.
So actually, rook fc1, maybe he goes knight e7. He allows a fork on e8 and goes queen takes f3, but that was way too complicated in time pressure. He knocks the queen out of a4, but in it comes to c2.
I wonder if black will play rook c7 at some point, so it's not captured with check, and then a knight d4 sort of tactic. And if queen d1 here, there's rook d8 sliding out of the pin.
But there's queen c2 attacking the knight immediately. You have to address that. And if you play rook g6, you have to reckon with knight e5.
And rook
That's
takes
where
g2.
rook takes g2 could come in. Wow.
Oh my goodness, this is so complicated. And right now, Hikaru, he has plenty of time. Nihal does not. This is about to be a scramble for him. He's up a pawn, but that's not as important as the pin along the c-file.
And Hikaru trying to figure out a way to create maximum complications. The queen does drop back to c2, and Nihal bails out with rook c4.
Move.
Okay.
Fantastic
practical decision.
Move.
Great practical decision.
Yes, let's trade off pieces. That way you don't have to be as concerned. But even the knight endgame is not easy.
Yeah. Oh, he might have... Okay, he allowed Hikaru to get better positioning with his minor pieces.
And he's got 6 seconds left. Queen d7 is a great move, keeping everything together. No queen e8 checks for Hikaru. Knight f5, great move.
Okay, but still Hikaru has some chances. He's got the pawn majority and the easier way to create a passer.
Wait, you can't protect a7.
Oh my god, he's gonna lose.
Queen f5. You got queen h5 check to d1. But the king can run to g3, f3, and so on.
It can and it will, and there's never perpetual check in these kinds of cases, but Hikaru doesn't rush with queen takes a7 because you still can't defend the pawn.
Oh my gosh, queen e8, queen e4! Queen e8, queen e4!
Oh, it trades
the
queens! What
it's
a catch
over.
by you!
He missed it!
And Hikaru, and Nihal's drawing chances again.
Oh my god, look,
he
Hikaru
just saw
sees it.
Look at him. Look at him.
He is absolutely... I was going to say a bad word. He is displeased with himself right now.
Nonplussed.
Because now if queen e8, there's king g7, and you cannot force the queens off the board.
And Nihal has the ideal defensive setup. White cannot reposition his queen easily, but Hikaru is going to keep trying. These endgames are so hard to hold in the long run.
Oh, okay. King can continue slithering up if it wants.
Oh, but you could get mated there easily.
He goes back. He's like, okay, I know what? I'm not going to take any risk.
Nihal just kind of treading water here. King up to g7. Don't forget about the possibility of a queen trade with check if you're Nihal.
Yes, if that... Oh! Why is the eval bar going up a little bit? Queen e5 to f5? Something like that?
Well, queen g1, queen h1 is a perpetual construction.
Yeah. You don't have... Can't just move your queen away. But king e3...
and
this is getting dangerous.
Gets his king to a better spot. I think he's going to win this game somehow.
Oh, but f3 just fell, which means way more checks available to the black queen.
True, but the king is going to make a mad dash for black side of the board and try to hide around the pawn.
It's not pawn quantity, it's pawn quality. The b6 pawn is a passer. You can't trade queens, you still lose.
I've seen so many of these endgames, and they're just virtually impossible to hold with no time on your clock. Eventually, you're going to let the king slip out of your grasp.
Queen d... Oh, and there it is.
King a2. King a2 is winning on the spot. He missed another win.
Trying to get a sundial, but you don't have it.
Queen c6. No,
queen
he hides beneath the pawn.
Queen e3 or queen c5. This
is
so difficult for both players.
How is Nihal holding this together? He's using the pin to prevent promotion.
Right. And you can't offer
queen a5.
Queen d8, queen c8.
It's losing. It's losing. Queen c7.
He goes back here. King g6. Queen g8.
It's still a draw. Queen c4. Hikaru getting more and more frustrated. Does he get the sundial? Queen f7.
Is king running to f8?
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Before, though, don't get
G8 h8. King h8.
Oh!
He hit in the corner.
Checks.
He wins the game.
F5 b8 queen. There's no checks.
There's not a single check.
The least likely square on the chessboard, and that's where he went.
Oh my gosh! And now he doesn't even need to trade queens. He could have, but he's going to win these pawns. And wait, but there's still a bunch of checks here.
Oh my gosh! It's still not over.
Yeah, he's got everything he wants. He's connected. G5 hangs.
Oh, what defensive resilience by Nihal, but it's not quite enough, and Hikaru steals it in exactly 100 moves.